Firstly, we are going to recall what we did yesterday. So, yesterday we got to know about for loops. We got to know a little bit about list comprehension and dictionary comprehension. And we also learned about conditionals, such as the if, elif, and else blocks. So, today we will be adding to all this knowledge and we will be uh, understanding a little bit better about list and dictionary comprehension. Yesterday I did it in a haste because the time wasn't left at our hands. So today we are going to do this. The second thing that we'll be doing today is we will be uh, having a look at the relevance of break and continue statements with respect to loops. We will also understand what while loops are, and we will start learning about functions today. So there are some common syntax that you should keep in mind while declaring Python functions. There are something which are specific to Python functions. We will be understanding those. And along with that, we will understand the anonymous function lambda. And we also have map, reduce, filter. We will learn about decorators, generators, and iterators. Okay. So let's start by list. Sorry. Let's start by list and dictionary comprehension. Now, yesterday we got to know that either of these things could be used to declare list or dictionary in one single line. Okay. So if I want to declare a dictionary and if I want to perform, list, if I want to perform list comprehension, so I can start a for loop for I in range of, let's say, 10. And what I want to do, I want to create a list which has the square of these elements, which means square of 0, square of 1, 2, 3, so on till 9. So how can I do that? Whatever value I would like to store, I should write it on the left hand side. And if you want to perform square, you can use the double asterisk operator and you can store this value inside a list. Okay, let's check our list. So this is a list of squares till number 9. If you want to start from 1, you can mention the start index as 1. Okay, so this is one thing that can be done with the help of list comprehension. Now, let's say along with this for loop to generate elements, you also want to mention a condition. Okay, not all the elements you want to store inside the list, and you want some conditions to be executed before an element gets stored. So, how to include if along with list comprehension? So, we are going to do the same thing, that is to generate squares of numbers, but we will only generate the squares of even numbers. Let's write the loop for I in range of starting from 1 till 10. Now, the condition for if, it will be mentioned on the right hand side. So, if I is divisible by 2 and it gives the result 0. Okay. Now, whatever should be the output if this condition is true, that output should be written on the left side. Okay. And the output is simply the square of that particular number. So let's store it inside a variable and I'm calling it even squares. And now we have the squares of only even numbers between this range. Please look at the syntax carefully. The if is present on the right hand side of the loop and whatever is the body of if, it is present on the extreme left of the loop. Okay, please keep in mind of the syntax. Rest everything is simple. And you can also observe there is no colon anywhere inside this list comprehension. Okay. Now, adding to the same concept, let's learn what nested list comprehension is. So, as the name suggests, now I'll be using two loops inside the list comprehension. So, for that, I will be declaring a nested list, which basically means a list inside list. So, 1, 2, 3, Okay. And what I'm going to do, I will be using list comprehension to flatten this nested list. Okay. So to do this, we are going to use two loops, and let's start by writing our first loop. So the first loop, let's take this matrix, and for I in n list. Now the second loop that you want to write, it should come on the right hand side. Okay. So for I in n list, what we want to do, or let's take a better variable name. Let's consider it row only. Okay, so what I have done, I first wrote this loop. This is my first loop, which is going to run for all the rows inside this nested list. Okay, then the second loop, it is running for a particular row and for each and every element. Whatever should be the output for this loop, I am writing it on the left hand side. So what I want to extract the element, and let's store it inside another list. And this is going to be a flattened list. All the elements are flattened now. Can you write, please carefully observe how I have written this code. Can you write an alternative code for the same, but without using list comprehension? This is the first loop, this is the second loop, and this is the body of the second loop. Yes, guys, can you please give me a snippet of a code that should implement the same, but without using nested loop? If someone is doing it, please give me a thumbs up so that I know. All right. Afan has given us a code which is doing the same thing, but major advantage of using list comprehension. Okay, very well done with the code, Afan. Okay, moving further, do you guys understand everything till here? Give me a thumbs up if you guys have an idea how to use list comprehension, how to use nested loop with the same, and how to use if condition. Okay, now we are going to see another addition to list comprehension, that is using if and else together. So earlier we wrote a condition, wrote a list comprehension which only had if condition. Now we are also going to have the else part. And if both of them, both the blocks are present inside the list comprehension, then the syntax changes a little bit. So please pay attention with that. So we start by the square brackets, and I am declaring my loop. So for number in range of 1 till 10. Now what I would like to do, I would like to create a list that should include even where the number is even and odd at the place where the number is odd. So it means if the number is 1, it should display odd. Or if the number is even, it should display even. Okay. So to do that, I have written this for loop. And now I'm going to mention the if and else condition. So for that, I am writing the condition on the left hand side now. Earlier, I wrote the condition on the right hand side because only one block was present, and that was of if. If both the blocks are present, you have to mention it on the left hand side. So if the number is divisible by 2 and the result is 0, then the body of if it should come on the left hand side. Okay, I know this is a bit tricky, but you'll get the hang of it. So what I want to mention, if this holds to be true, please store even. And if this is false, which means else, mention odd. Okay, let's store it inside a list. All right. So now we have a list instead of numbers. We have an indication that where are the numbers odd and where are the numbers even. All right, guys. So this takes me to your next task. What do you have to do now? Please take reference of this list comprehension loop. You guys have to create a list that should contain squares for even numbers and cubes for odd numbers. You can take any range of your choice. At the place of even numbers, you guys have to mention squares of those numbers. And at the place of odd numbers, you guys have to mention cubes. Okay. If the question is clear and you are starting to attempt it, give me a thumbs up. Okay. Single loop that can also be done. Okay. Juan has also come up with the solution for this question as well, and it is correct. Anyone else, if I have done the same, can write their results in the comment section. Okay, Himanshu has also done it. Okay, I believe everyone now can understand how to perform list comprehension, what is its use, and how to write list comprehension in several ways, right? Now, in the same way, you guys can also implement dictionary comprehension. The syntax part, syntactical part is same for dictionary comprehension as well. But the only difference lies in the fact that list comprehension is used to declare a list, whereas dictionary comprehension will be used to declare a dict. So you guys have to explore with the same concepts how to implement dictionary comprehension. Okay, is your homework. All right. This takes us to the second part of today's session, that is to understand what loops, while loops is, and also to understand where to use break and continue, when to use the break statement. Yes, break is used to terminate the loop. So if I have a loop that goes in the range till from 1 till 10, and if I have a condition, if I equals to 5, I want to break the loop, else I can simply mention print here, or else print I. Okay. So you can see that though the loop was meant to go till 10, with the break statement, I have terminated the loop in between iterations. Okay. So this is a simple use of break statement, and you guys can use it wherever the situation demands. If I replace for the same code, if I replace break with continue, then you can see that my loop, it runs perfectly. However, the condition where the iteration where I becomes equal to 5, it is skipped. So when you do not want to terminate the loop based upon a condition, but you want to skip that condition or you want to ignore that condition, so then you can use continue. It is as simple as that. Okay, so yes, continue is used to skip an iteration, break is used to break the loop, break the iterations. Let's understand the syntax for while loop now. So while loop is just like for loop, it is used to do a task that requires repetition or iteration. The only difference between for loop and while loop, apart from the syntax, is that you use a while. Now, by saying it, I do not mean that for loop and while loop cannot be used in similar circumstances, similar scenarios. If you have attempted something using a for loop, you can do it using while loop as well. But while loops are, if this is the situation that you do not know the number of iterations, it is better to use a while loop. And for loops are used when you know the number of iterations, when the number of iterations are fixed. Okay. So let's write a simple program. Now, what I'm going to do, I have a number, let's say the number equals to 10, and I want to print the numbers till the print all the numbers starting from 10, let's say till 20. So what I'm going to do, I am going to use the while keyword, and here I'll mention my condition. So my condition is till y is less than equals to 20. Put a colon, and please take care of it, indentation here as well. So what I have to do, I have to print the number. Now, what is going to happen if I leave this loop as it is? I have initialized the variable, the loop variable. I have mentioned the condition, and I have also mentioned what I want this loop to do. That is to print the numbers. Can you tell me if I run this loop as it is, what is going to happen? Will it work or will it not work? Yes, of course, it is going to be an infinite loop because there is no step condition. Number is going to be 10 all the times. It will always be less than 20, and the loop is going to run infinitely, printing 10 again and again. So it is necessary to have a step iteration. So here I'm going to increase the value of 10. So whatever my number is, here I'm using the plus equals to operator. Okay, this is the equivalent of, okay, so this is the while loop. And in the same way, like we used continue and break with for loop, they can be used along with while loop as well. Also, the past statement that I told you guys about, which is used to skip a loop's body, that can also be used for while loop as well. Okay, the work of everything is same, just the syntax is different. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do, let's learn a last concept with respect to loops. So here I have a for loop, and there is also the concept of for else and while else in Python. Okay, so if I have a for loop, and let's say I write an else block associated with it. This else block is going to print a simple statement, and let's say it says loop has ended. Now I am running this else block. See, according to the knowledge we have, Once this for loop has executed, whatever is outside of the loop, that should also execute. Okay. So if for and else together are compatible, the body of else should have executed, but I don't get anything printed on the screen. Now, can you tell me or can you guess why is it happening? Why am I not able to print the body of else after the for loop? The syntax is fine, and this is possible to write a for with else, that I can assure you. Yes, the loop is terminated in the middle. Due to the break statement, the else block is not executing. So if I remove this break statement from here, for and else, they are compatible together, and same goes with while and else. But if the loop is broken in between iteration, the body of else, it will never execute. All right. Please give me a thumbs up if you guys have clear idea about what loops are, what continue and break statements are, and what is list comprehension. Okay. We will also be doing a task related to while loop, but I have kept it for the end. If time allows, we are going to do it. Otherwise, I'll give it as homework. Okay. That brings us to functions. And we'll be learning about functions now, how to write functions in Python, and what are some common things that should be kept in mind while writing functions. So, as you all know, functions are predefined code, and up until now, we have used several inbuilt functions such as print, range, and we have also used the type function. But we don't know as of now how to create user-defined functions in Python. Okay. So a function has two things. One is the function signature or the function header, and the other part of the function is its body. So in Python, you start a function or you start the signature of a function by using this def keyword. Then you write the function name, and then you use these parentheses. Inside the parentheses, you can provide parameters. Okay. You put a colon, and then with an indentation, you start the body of the function. Okay. So let's start by writing a function. Let's say I have an intention of writing a function that prints a greeting for a specific person. Okay. So my function is called greet. It takes two parameters. One is the name of the person, and another one is the message that I want to print for that person. Let's say I have no clue what I want this function to do. So I have this pass statement, which helps me to ignore the body of the function tree. Okay. Once you get an idea what you want your function to do, you can replace the pass statement with the necessary messages. Okay, with the necessary statements. So what I want to do, I want this function to print a greeting for this person. So first the message gets printed, and then whatever is the name of the person, it gets printed. Okay. Obviously, when you run the function, you will not be able to see the output until and unless you make a function call. So how to make a function call? You write the name of the function and you pass the arguments. So here I am going to pass, well, let me pass my name, and I am wishing myself good morning. Okay. So I got the output, good morning, Vanshika. Now, what is the benefit of using a function? One single benefit I can see here, that if I want this function to execute multiple times with different values, let's say I want to wish good morning to all of you, so I can execute this function separately for each and every name and provide a personalized message for each and every person, which means that they increase the reusability of the code. All right, I can use it as many number of times with as many values that I like. The second advantage of function is that they make error detection easier, and you guys already know about that. They are also responsible for making the program modular and giving a structure to the program. And they also enhance division of labor. Okay, itna we all know, because these are some things that are associated with the basics of the function. Now there is other statement that is used frequently with the functions, that is called the return statement. Okay, so basically, if you are going to see the definition of function, you will see in that definition that a function is something that returns a specific value. Okay, so to return a value in a function, you can use this return keyword. Let's see how to use it. So I am going to modify this greet function a little bit. And this is the message that I would like to print. And instead of printing it, I am returning this message using the return statement. Okay. So if I give a call to this function and provide some name and also provide some message, the function works just fine. It works in the similar manner like it was working previously. Okay. Now, can you tell me what change uh, I have done with the program when I mentioned this return keyword? How the execution of program has changed once you mention the return keyword? Do you know anything associated with it? What this return keyword or return statement is doing? Yes, the Vijay has said perfectly. The value returned by the function can be utilized by the caller of the function. Okay, and once something is returned from the function, okay, the control it is transferred to the place where the call for the function has been made. Which means if you write any statement after the return statement, okay, you may write n number of statements after uh, returning something from the function, but those statements will never be executed. Okay, because the execution control it is transferred to the place where the call has been made. Okay, now this pops another question in my mind. How many return statements are possible inside a function? And what happens if I write multiple return statements? Yes, what is going to happen if I write multiple return statements inside my function? Yes, only first will execute. No matter how many statements you write, error to abhi nahi aega, but only the first one is going to execute always, because obviously the execution control is transferred to the place where the call was made from. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you know how to write a simple function in Python, if you understand the function signature and the function body and the use of return statement inside a function. Okay. Now there is something called a docstring. Earlier, when we were learning about strings, so if I have a string and if I want any function to be used upon this string, so I was pressing Shift and Tab and I got to know what is the docstring of this function. Okay, basically, how can I use this function and what this function is going to do for me. So, what is a docstring basically? A docstring is a helping string which has been written to help you guys out what the function is doing, what it will return, how to use this function. Okay, so it is a helping string. There are two ways to print the docstring or associated with any function. So either you can use this help function write the name of your function inside it, and this is going to print the docstring associated with it. There is also an attribute. Let's see if it is going to work. This attribute is underscore underscore doc underscore underscore attribute. So there are double underscores at the beginning and at the end. You write the name of any function and you write this attribute, and this is going to print the docstring of that function for you. Okay. So in a similar manner, if I want to have a docstring for my function also, okay, I have this function greet and I want to create a docstring for this function. How can I do that? Okay. So docstring is going to be a set of a very first statements that you write inside the body of your function, and you use triple inverted commas to write those. Okay. Inside these triple inverted commas, you can write anything. So this function returns a personalized message. You can also mention how many parameters it accepts. So it takes name, it takes message. Basically, however you want to design, whatever you want to write, you can write in these inverted commas. Okay, let's call our function. So this is the function. And when I press Shift and Tab, I also get the signature and I also get the docstring that I wrote. Okay, so this is how, in this simple manner, you can write the docstring of your functions. Let's take a 2-minute break or to to relax a bit and to take a sip of water, and we'll be continuing after that. Okay. Okay. Do I have everyone here? Please give me a thumbs up if all of you are present. All right. So let's explore further with function, and I'm going to create a separate function for it now. So my function is info. It takes name, it takes place, and it takes company. Okay, and what it does, it prints a statement displaying the info of the person. So let's print name, and whatever is the value. So let's make it an F string. After that, let's mention place of work, and also the company. Okay, let's give a call to the function and let's provide name, let's provide place, and let's provide the company. Now, one thing you guys can see that there are three parameters inside the signature of my function, and there are three arguments that I have provided. These are arguments, these are parameters. So when you execute it, you see that your function is working perfectly like you want it to be. However, if the number of parameters, let's say I also provide my contact number, and in this case, the number of arguments does not matches the number of parameters, well, it is going to generate an error. Okay, this is very basic. You guys might know about it. Okay, so the number of parameters, it should always match the number of arguments. Now, another thing that you guys can note here is whenever a function call is made, the values are sequentially assigned. Okay, so Vanshika will be assigned to the first parameter, Noida to the second, and Inzint to the third. In any case, if I change the sequence, then my output will also change. And you can see that now the output is not according to my expectation. Name is Inzint, place of work is Vanchika, company is Nada. Okay, so this thing should be kept in mind. Now, if I want to avoid it, okay, I want the sequence to be same, but I still want the function to execute correctly. So to do that, we have a concept known as keyword argument, which means whatever is the parameter name, provided along with the arguments. So this is name, this is company, and this is place. Okay. Now the values will be correctly assigned since you have also mentioned the specific parameter whose value you have provided. Okay. Also, one error that occurred here was regarding the number of arguments which I have provided. So this function, it was not taking more than how many? More than 3 arguments. But let's say there is a requirement where I want to provide as many number of arguments as I like. Sometimes I might provide 2, sometimes I might provide 10, depending upon the situations. Okay, so I have a function that is called summation. And what is it is going to take? It will take a value and it will simply return sum of that value. Okay, so here I can either take value 1, value 2, okay, and give a call to this function. Okay, okay. All right, I got it. Okay, so what the function is doing, my function is going to take one value or 10 values depending upon the situation, and I want it to execute for all such values, be it 10, be it 20. So for that, we have a concept known as variable length arguments. If you want your argument to be of variable length, you just put an asterisk in front of your variable name, and then it is going to work for as many values as you provide. Firstly, I ran this function summation for one value, and it gives me the sum of that value, which is 1. Let me provide multiple values. So the function works for 5 values as well. So this is how you can transform your argument into variable length argument just by putting an asterisk in front of it. The variable name could be anything. The asterisk is something which is required, and you can put it in front of any variable name. Similarly, for this function that is info, I want to have multiple arguments. So it is going to depend upon the user how many. This one returns a list, and this one it returns a dictionary. Okay, so if I simply return value here, okay, so it is returning a tuple. This one returns a tuple and this one returns a dictionary. Give me a thumbs up if you guys know how to write variable length arguments and how to write variable keyword arguments. Also, these keys I have provided them. They do not belong to any like reserved word or anything of that sort. I can change these keys according to me. This is not these variable names, they are not part of the syntax. Okay, they can be anything. All right, so these were few of the things that should be kept in mind while writing a function, and these were some probable scenarios where you could modify the function according to your requirement. Let's study about a function that is called lambda. And at the end of this, also yesterday, we talked a little bit about the lambda function, but most of the people had left by that time. So we'll discuss it again. Now, what this lambda does, it is a special function and it is also called anonymous function because it has no name. Okay, lambda is a keyword. Two things that are specific to lambda is it can take any number of variables, but it will only return one expression. Sorry, will only have one expression. Any number of variables and only one expression. It is mostly used to write one-liner functions. Up until now, जितने भी functions we have wrote, they were basically one-liner function. So just like for loops, we had list comprehension, and for dictionary, we had dictionary comprehension. If you want to write one-liner function, you can very well use lambda. Okay. So let's write the lambda function. Like I told you, it can take n number of variables. So I have four variables here, A, B, C, and D. Once I have declared the variables, I'm going to put a colon, and whatever is my expression, I will mention it after the colon. So I want to return the sum of all of these variables. Now, what do you do since this is a one-liner function? You can store it inside a variable, and I am calling it sum. Let's call it num. Okay. In order to access, in order to get the result from the lambda function, what do? You use these variables. You use the variable where you have stored it, and you provide the value for all of these variables. So I'm going to provide 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I get my result. That is the sum of all these numbers. So if you want lambda to have one variable, that is fine. If you want to have multiple variable, that is fine as well. You can use it according to your requirement. Okay. Now, since lambda is a one-liner function, it has various purposes. Firstly, it can be passed as an argument to higher order functions such as map, filter, and reduce. Okay. So yesterday we discussed this map function. Today we are going to discuss map and filter. Okay. Afan is saying, what if we don't want any variables? So you want to like print something here that gets printed. Okay, it is going to work without variables as well, but it must have at least one expression. All right, guys. Okay, do you understand the basics about Lambda? How to declare it, how to use it? Give me a thumbs up if you I have. Okay. So let's explore these three functions. So the working of all of these functions is quite similar. And for that, let me declare a list of numbers. So I have these numbers. And what I want to do, I want to create a new list that should have the elements which will be formed by multiplying these numbers by, let's say, 2. Okay. So I am declaring a lambda function to do the same, which will be taking one element at a time. Whatever the element is, it will be multiplying it by 2. Okay. And we know that it is only going to work for one element. So what I want to achieve, I want to map it to each and every element of this list. To do that, we use the map function. And if you read the docstring of map function, it takes two things. One would be a function and another one would be the iterable. Okay, so that iterable, it could be anything, string, list, dictionary, set, anything. Here I'm going to mention my list, that is nums. And if you run it, you won't be getting the values until you pass it through the list constructor or the tuple constructor, or you run it through the loop. And you can see that I got my new list, which contains the element of the existing list multiplied by 2. So this is what map is doing. It is basically applying this lambda function to each and every element of my iterable. Let's take the same list and let's apply filter function on it. Now, as the name suggests, filter is going to get some elements out. It is going to filter out some elements based upon a condition. So from this list, I only want to get the even elements or the odd elements. For that, I'm writing a filter function. Firstly, let's write a lambda function. So if we have a variable a, and if this a is divisible by 2 and it gives 0, I have not even mentioned if here. I have simply written the condition. Provide it as argument to filter and mention your iterable. Okay. Similarly, let's pass it through the list constructor, and you can see that it has filtered out the required elements. So both of them work in like the application is different, but the syntax for both of them is same. In the same way, you can work with reduce as well. This is going to be homework. And reduce is present inside a library that is called func tools, if I'm correct. Okay, please check it. I'm not sure. I guess it is func tools, but confirm it. Okay, so you are going to see how to apply reduce function, and this is going to be a homework for everyone. Okay, please give me a thumbs up if you understand what these lambda function is doing and the relevance of map and filter. All right. Just before we end today's session, I'll answer your doubt at the end of the session, Paras. Okay, I have something planned. There is a question that I would like you guys to solve. So I want you to create a function. Are you familiar with Morse code? Can you please give me a thumbs up if you guys are familiar with Morse code? Okay. So basically, it's a sequence of dots and dashes. I am going to get a dictionary for you. Okay, it is sequence of dots and dashes where every alphabet and every digit is represented by a sequence of dots and dashes. So what I want you to do, I want you to write a function that would convert text to Morse code. Okay, and I am providing this dictionary to you guys. Feel free to use it. I want you to write a function that could convert text to Morse code. Okay, this is basic thing. Can you give me a thumbs up if you understand it? Okay. So please take your time and please attempt it. Write a function. You can uh, design the function in whatever way you like. And also provide me with a test case for the same. Please don't use Google to do this. You guys can do it on your own. because Modfud's code is returning a list of those characters. It would be better अगर आप इनको like you would have concatenated them together. Paris's code is like I would say it is better. Okay. All right, guys. If you were trying to do it in the same way or in any kind of different way and you're getting the result, then well done. Also, try to do the same. And this was text to Morse, right? Try to convert it from Morse to text. Okay. Write a separate function for that as well. This could be a homework. And tomorrow, I there's going to be a 3.5 hour long session. Okay, so we are going to have a very chaotic weekend tomorrow, and we will be mainly discussing the NumPy library, and we will also be doing a case study. Most of the time, I'll be just guiding you tomorrow, and you guys will be doing all of the work. So please be ready with your laptops and be ready to code. Also, there was a doubt that was asked by Paris that can we pass normal function in map or filter? Yes, it is possible. Just like I wrote a function here for map, you can write a same normal function. Let me just do that for you. Uh, multiply 2 is the name of my function. It will take a variable and it will return by multiplying that variable with 2. And I have a list of numbers at my hand, which is this one. And for map, I can write my function and I can also provide the list and pass it in a constructor. Yes, you can do it. You can design your own function and you can do the same with filter as well. Okay. All right, guys. On that note, we are going to end the session. Thanks for being so attentive, so patient.